Welcome back, I'm Kevin O'Keefe, and at issue today, teens volunteering around the world. So far, we've seen Canadian teens going overseas, but there's plenty of work to be done here in Canada, especially if you're interested in science and the environment. Earthwatch International uses high school students to help out with their climate change study. Take a look.
We get you guys, and you're kind of, you're at a stage where you're really not sure what you're going to do. And I have to say that it's even more exciting sometimes to watch those lights come on and go, oh, wait, you mean you start to, you can almost see you guys integrating those things that we're teaching you. And that's what's exciting about the Sept program. Earthwatch is interested in anybody who is interested in and having experience in what real science is and sort of the real world questions that scientists are working on. It's not that we're trying to promote science to recruit scientists, but I want you to be able to pick up the paper, read something about a story, and have a deeper understanding and have an appreciation for some piece of science and think, wow, this is cool. So that heartbeat of science is there's always a question. You know, your conclusions to your study are often definitive, but never final. So there's always going to be exciting questions for Earthwatch groups to help answer and novel questions for them to help answer.
I work with Dr. Ben Cash as a collaborator from Maryville College, and he's really great with doing the frogs and fish stuff. And my part in the project is to look at water quality of the ponds and also habitat of these wetlands. Earthwatch is a great organization because it works with educating people who are interested in the environment, who might not have the scientific background that they need, and giving them opportunities to work with scientists and learn more about the environments, learn more about wildlife, and just in general to be more educated about the planet. A lot of this scientific data actually ends up in academic publications and presentations we make to our colleagues at conferences that are with similar people who do the same kind of work that we do. But it's also really important for us to get the information out to other people. They select people who are interested in sciences and interested in learning more about what they can do to become a research scientist or to have some active role in science potentially in their future. So I love working with the high school students and getting an opportunity to show them the northern environment that I live in and the one that I'm really passionate about. And it gives me an excuse to spend 2 weeks out of my summer with 6 great teenagers.
And Skyping me from Massachusetts is Earthwatch volunteer, 17-year-old Zach Gleeman. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Thank you.
I feel like I should be thanking you for the help that you're doing in Canada with our environment, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tell me, how did you first get involved with Earthwatch?
Well, I've always wanted to do something to contribute to a better understanding of global warming, climate change with the environment. And I was looking online. I had a friend that did a similar program with Earthwatch, not this exact trip to Canada. But once I heard about that, I decided I'd look online and see what Earthwatch had to offer. And then I found that there was this trip right to the edge of the Arctic. And it seemed great, so I signed up for it, and I got a grant to go here. So that's how I originally came across this.
How did you get the money to go? You said you got a grant.
At my school, we have a thing called the Class of 48 Award. So about 100 rising seniors will apply to do anything, really. I decided to write up a proposal for this trip. And I was one of the 4 kids that were selected to do and be able to go on whatever trip they wrote about. And so I got approved for that, and then I got the money to help me pay for about half of the trip. And then I was off. I just waited until the summer, and that's how I did it.
And what interest do you have in the environment? Why is that something that you're passionate about?
Well, I know global warming right now, climate change, at least in the United States. I know many other countries it's not a problem, but in the United States it's sort of a debate right now. And so I wanted to have a better understanding of really what is going on, because in the United States we're just not educated as much as we really should be. And because it's still a debate, you really can't be, because people are really confused about that. So I really just wanted to get a better understanding, and I want to do something sometime in my life that will contribute to helping our environment. And I just thought that this would be an interesting experience that would help me see what I could do with that.
Zach, can you tell me a bit about your research? What did you actually do in Canada?
Well, what we actually physically did, we would, there were about 6 kids. We divided up into 3 teams every day. About half the work was in the field and half the work was in the lab. So when we were in the field, we'd go out to all different wetlands around the Northern Study Center. And the water quality group would take a YSI probe. We'd stick it in the water, about 15 different points per wetland, and it would take a lot of different readings for water quality. And we'd also take a lot of depths all around the wetlands. And yeah, so that's it for that group out in the field. The other group was the fish and frog group. We'd set traps for the fish, and we'd bring them back to the lab later. And then for the frog part, we'd also collect tadpoles, but when we're out there, since it's hard to come across a lot of frogs, but when we do, we just record that we came across them, because you can't always catch them either. And then we have another group, which is called the physical group, and they would go around the perimeter of the pond, and then we do some calculations and figure out what the area of the actual pond is, and they would also take some additional measurements. And when we got back into the lab, the fish and frog group would then go under the microscope and look at the stickleback fish, count the spines, because different species have different number of spines. So we'd then put them in ethanol, and they'd be used later for genetic testing and for further research.
And what does this all have to do with global warming? What were you looking for? Evidence of global warming in the species, or?
Yes, because the 2 main things that are connected to what we're doing, the desiccation of the wetlands and the warming temperatures, the rising temperatures. And because of this, the wetlands, the thawing permafrost due to the warming temperatures, some of the wetlands will drain and others will just appear, and that changes the freshwater habitats, and in turn that will affect the species that live there. So we're trying to study how these species are changing over time, and that will, since everything's connected up there, we'll see how these are changing and how that affects more things. But what's causing this is the warming and the climate change. And also the desiccation, it dries out the wetlands, and that also affects the populations. So we're looking at how all these factors are affecting species and the whole ecosystem.
And what was the toughest thing about doing the work for you?
I guess it was the field work. It was enjoyable, definitely. It was a great learning experience, but we had to walk through a lot of thick mud, and that really would take a toll on you. And some people fell in. It was sort of funny, but it was definitely so.
And you said you enjoyed that, though, the tough parts?
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
It's because it really lets you know what field work is like, and sometimes you just can't get things without putting a lot of work into it. So.
And how did the research you did, impact your view of climate change? You said that it's sort of a debate in the U.S. right now. Did you come back more committed to it or less committed?
Definitely more committed. We had a lot of lectures while we were up there, and it really helped me just learn a lot more about what's going on with the planet, and what climate change really means, and what we could possibly do, and what just the whole history of what's been going on. So yeah, I'm definitely more committed now, and I hope I can spread that feeling.
And speaking of spreading that feeling, what has been the response from your friends and family to your trip?
They've all thought it was really, really cool and interesting. I've been telling them all about it. They think it's really amazing what I was able to do up there. And I was showing pictures and videos, and they just thought it was a really great experience, and they wanted to hear what I learned up there.
Climate change is such an enormous topic, and sometimes can be overwhelming. Did you ever get discouraged when you're looking at the changes you discovered happening in the environment here?
I don't think I get discouraged, because I know that we're almost at a tipping point where we might not be able to go back, but even if we change our habits now, the climate change will still continue to occur, but at a slower rate, and eventually, if we do take action, we'll try to reverse these effects. So no, I'm not discouraged. I think there's there's hope, definitely.
If someone is watching this and is getting inspired and wants to become involved, how can they find out more about the projects you're working on?
Earthwatch has a website. You can just type in Google or in a search engine Earthwatch. And we also have a blog, so you can figure out what we did every day when we were up there, so you can see what the experience is like. But yes, their website has findings from past years and all the information you would need to sign up and learn more about it.
And what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe watching right now and is deciding whether they want to do that or not? What advice would you give to another young person?
I would say make sure you're definitely committed to learning and that you will be able to participate in the field work, because some of it is difficult. But just as long as you're open and willing to participate, I mean, it should be a great experience for them.
Well, thanks again for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
When we return, can't decide whether you want to help out at home or abroad? Why choose? Stay with us.